Mm.
Perhaps I should. Yes. So anyway, this term symptom imperative comes from it's kind of the hallmark of TMS, which is this transient myositis syndrome, which basically says that this unresolved emotions um, are hijacking the pain neuro matrix, and the pain neuro matrix being the way that the best way that we have to describe how pain works in the brain right now, the most accurate, at least as far as we can tell, according to imaging studies and research on pain, which is that pain is not doesn't happen at one point in the brain, it's all over the brain, right? It's a vast network, and the pain experience um, can be triggered by any part of this network, which involves many different areas of the brain, including like the amygdala, which is kind of our threat processing, fear processing part of the brain, the thalamus, which is kind of the gatekeeper for the cortex, and then the somatosensory part of the brain, which is in the cortex, lives back here, which is where we actually get the feeling of pain, because that's where our body maps live. And so then, the pain will end up in one of the spots on those maps, which is where we feel it in our physical body. And you also have other areas of the brain like the insula, which is where our internal bodily sensations come and then they get processed, and which also has a big role in tuning the dials on the intensity of pain. So all of these things are working together. Where the emotional part comes in through these teachings of TMS and this symptom imperative is that the emotional part kind of hijacks the whole system. And the brain focuses or gives pain as an output in order to avoid dealing with the emotions and having to process them. So I don't know if that's what you're dealing with, Sandra, but I only say it because it was an interesting frame for thinking about pain, especially chronic pain, and especially this symptom imperative where we have these pains that kind of come from nowhere. They change around and they intensify. That's the other thing is like when you start dealing with these emotional issues, oftentimes the brain becomes afraid that you're leaving the known and causing change, and that's scary and unpredictable. So pain will intensify, hopefully in just a short term, but until the emotions are resolved, um, the symptom imperative will continue. Don't know if that's helpful or useful for you at all, but
Yeah. Is it only
I've,
for pain or is it also like, because you mentioned
well,
nausea and light
yeah,
sensitivity and
yeah, yeah. And so I am personally trying to get out the message that pain is an umbrella term for all threat response.
okay. Yeah.
So pain includes nausea, dizziness, vertigo. Pain includes anxiety. Pain includes any kind of neuroticism, inflammation, with or without the sensation of pain, is included in pain. I don't know if that's even helpful for people to think about pain that way, but um, it's either that or we just call even pain threat response
Yeah.
because it does, and that's because that's the point with this whole conversation is that it does include all those things.
Think, yeah, I think for me saying threat response makes more sense because I also think of pain as like when you get acute pain because you step on a piece of glass or something. So that's very different.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of the pain that we experience, especially when it's chronic, is not, it's more as our neuro mentors would say, um, it's not even pain. It's discomfort is a better term for it. Pain is that sharp, intense, take your breath away kind of response that you're talking about. Like you step on a nail, that's pain.
Yeah.
Like walking around and every step you take, you get a little ache. That's just discomfort. So that's a useful distinction because everything included in the discomfort, what we would just consider threat responses, um, from a nervous system that is, you know, in a way, I'm really getting sick of hearing the words nervous system regulation lately. I don't know about you guys.
It's cutting edge.
Uh,
Come on.
yeah, so cutting edge. Uh, yeah, that's
So
been bugging me lately.
I guess where I'm at right now is, so Joe, I've been feeling really lousy, and I already have this sensitive nervous system, but I've been and I don't know where to go with it right now. And so what I'm wondering is the emotional component, or is it like I have mold and I have mold toxicity, or is there something else I'm not aware of? That's kind of where is there a root cause that's leading this? That's emotion. I mean, it could be a combination of the emotions and the toxin, but I'm kind of at a loss because I did all these tests at the classic doctors, and they were telling me I'm all fine, but I might have a parasite. So I had 2 courses of antibiotics already, and nothing's changed. So,
Well, I wouldn't take, well, I guess it depends on the antibiotic, but that's, I look for more stuff to be anti-parasitic than I do antibiotic to deal with parasites, but ivermectin's antibiotic too, so whatever.
I mean,
Um,
I haven't done this is like, this is territory that I know so little about that I don't even know what to ask and who to ask. And also I want to say we don't need to take up all the time on me. So,
well, I just love the conversation in general.
okay.
I've got a few things that I want to comment on, if that's all right
Yeah,
with
this
both.
is in Joe's wheelhouse for sure.
This is in the
He's helped me a bunch.
this is in the think differently that the medical system and paradigm doesn't, and neither do the alternative practitioners, right? But so start with your cousin, and what did they call that? The diet. What was the term she used?
Talking to me.
Yeah. What was the
Uh,
term? The term that they called?
Symptom imperative is the original term that she brought to me that I
Okay.
started to research.
Okay. So as you kind of were describing that and it being an emotional thing, I think to the detox perspective. And the detox perspective of emotions being that they say that emotions are buried in our cells, but then I also always often hear that they're buried in our fat, which to me feels very true because every time I've gone and done a Vipassana retreat or anytime I've done a detox and I go into a ketosis or in more of a fat burning versus otherwise, um, I definitely emotions are 10 times harder to deal with. So sometimes, I really feel like the neuro side of our food is much more beneficial in helping people find a regulated nervous system than we give it credit for. In terms of what you,
Yeah.
in terms of kind of what you were saying, Sandra, regarding the pain and how it switches, there is Dr. EMF, Dr. Court. His partner, she talks about cellular danger response. And I think I sent you a company information about it before. And if not, I should have, because I probably definitely thought about it. But it's Micro Daily and it's Dr. Prasad. And he's done all of the research on radiation and EMFs for the government, including the Russians, and like looking back and forth of like what to do for soldiers. and their target is micronutrition within this like cellular danger response, like getting the micronutrients to those cells. I've seen him previously in videos with LifeWave, which is the little patches that you can put on your back.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that.
39. And I've seen videos where he talks about those benefits, but I also know, because I can text him, he's not personally involved with that company anymore. It also makes me think of redox signals, which is one of the conversations that I've been trying to have with Dr. Court, because he's not familiar with the redox signals of ASEA and how that works. But to me, when you're applying those redox molecules directly to an area, you know, they've got their Renew 28, which is like their liquid redox signals, which redox signaling molecules improve every system in the body. And that's where Dr. Jack Kruse is saying, go out and see the morning sun and get the morning sun on your eyeballs for 30 minutes, is because that's creating redox in the body between the electromagnetics and the light frequency. So in your circumstance, 30 minutes on the wet beach in the morning, now you're getting grounded and you're getting the energy from the sun in connection to what he's saying for like getting the redox in your body without a supplement, right? So, you know, I feel like there's a little bit of the emotional play that everyone faces, that is the cellular danger response of like, what can I do for how I eat and how I detox, that starts to move emotions through me that are, you know, not so much woo woo energetically, I can go see someone and they can move the energy through me, but more like, this is in this fat cell in this particular area of my body. And it's, you know, goes with the Louise Hayes side of things, where, you know, you're speaking affirmations to a particular body part, an organ, because maybe it's all congested in that one area. Now, I talked all over the place and referenced all kinds of different experts in multiple different fields and expertises, right? But for me, it comes down to, are we doing neurology? Am I eating in a way where I flex my metabolic flexibility? So am I really good at sugar for fuel? Am I really good with protein for a fuel? Do I have strong digestion that it breaks the protein down? Can I consume sugar and have no problems because it gets my nervous system to feel quickly that it likes, right? Like there's just the different aspects, or fat, I said sugar twice. Fat, you know, can you fast with no big deal without it becoming this emotional complete disruption and hangriness of like, I need food right now, right? And that's where sometimes in the neuro world, I feel like people are too quick to rescue with fuel, and they don't let the person start to flex that side of their metabolics, which is kind of a conversation Brandon and I have had lately numerous times on some of these calls. I don't know if that helps, but that's all the different little like.
Yeah, there's so many components. I just don't know. Yeah, where to
Never
go.
one. It's never one thing either, right? Like if you've been tracking your diet already like super well, you've paid attention to making lots of changes, but within all of those changes, would you say that you change seasonally within your diet? Or would you say you kind of have found a groove and you eat the same things 365 days a year?
Probably the latter. I mean, I'm just having trouble getting myself to eat. I've lost like 15 pounds in the past 6 months. And so it's just getting myself to eat is a problem.
So not eating is your body also saying, I need to heal. It's like when a dog won't eat, they know they need to heal, right? So you could be playing more into the not eating while putting small certain things into your system to like start changing, you know, is it the parasite? Is it the small intestines? Is it the pancreas? Is it the gallbladder? Is it the kidneys? Like there's so many areas of our digestion where it's like, it's not necessarily just, oh, I need to fix my gut health. Like that's too simple, right? Like it's not that simple. So, eating healthy fat. So like ghee, cumin, or black seed oil, which is cumin, coconut oil, a really good legit olive oil. Don't get the bad ones. Italian mafia is real, right? But then if you're getting those healthy fats, now you start to move your bile. And then if you start mixing that with lemon juice and apple cider vinegar, now you start to break down bile buildup. So you start moving more toxins out of you. Right. So I started there thinking that my brain is fat and I need to eat fat. And I had no idea what I was actually doing, which I learned 3 years later once I started doing Ayurvedic cleanses, what I had previously done for myself 3 years earlier in eating spoonfuls of fat in the morning, waiting about 30 minutes, and then drinking some lemon juice. Right. So to me, and there's an emotional docu-series on like Gaia where they go into the emotions and they talk about using a lemon juice and breaking down your bile for processing your fats and all of these things too. So it's not just like this weirdo thing that I had been doing. It was like I found all of my proof after I had done all of these things. And the reasons I was doing them were completely wrong. Then I get into Dr. Brimhall. Now, Dr. Brimhall did functional medicine before functional medicine was really a thing. But he uses muscle testing, and he talks about muscle testing completely different than Matt does. And it's wild because he'll touch on this side of the body, and then he'll touch on this side of the body, and then he'll tell you when you're muscle testing on this side of the body versus this side of the body, that it's telling him different things about the brain. So I'm listening to his stuff and I'm just like, I want to listen to him and Matt talk about this conversation, right? But he'll just go real woo-woo with like the pendulum. And you can say, show me my yes. I'm getting a circle. Show me my no. It's going back and forth. Can I ask some questions for Sandra? I'm getting a yes. So then I can say, should she focus on emotions? Should she focus on like the fat eating protocol we just discussed? So those are both no's. Should she focus on redox signaling? No. Should she focus on micronutrients? Yes. So to me, now I'm working with the energy that exists in everything between me and you in Hawaii and New Mexico. And we're just asking source energy, right? Of like, what's the best thing that you need? Not someone looking at your blood panel and then throwing the kitchen sink of things that you could do to detox from heavy metals. And then the heavy metals being like throwing you into throwing your nervous system completely out of whack. Because frankly, your nervous system was living just fine with those heavy metals. Right? I don't know. So we didn't ask really about heavy metals, right? So should she be working on her heavy metals? No. Do you have any mercury fillings? Okay. That would have been my next question.
Maybe one.
Should she remove a mercury filling? Does she have a mercury filling to worry about? No. Okay. Just another heavy metal thing that popped in my mind as I was asking questions. But then it's just like, as long as your energetics are flowing forward, which in my experience of using a pendulum, I used it for years. I didn't trust the thing. I was always unquestioning it. And then I met a chiropractor who was like, your energy is reversed. You're not even flowing in the right direction. And then he gave me some uncut flower essences. And like ever since then I started doing all of this muscle testing and, pendulum stuff. And I was like, whoa, this like feels so much more true to me. And then I suddenly like randomly didn't start, like it was feeling off. And it was about a year ago and I was staying in Buckeye. And then I ended up going to the Brimhall conference out of all places. And I had two different practitioners saying, your EMFs are really ridiculous. And then on day 3, they had a voltmeter and you could hold on to it to see what your EMFs were or what your volts were in your body. And they were saying most people are at about 3 volts, but you want to be at like 1 volt. Well, I was at like 0.9, and the doctor was like, holy cow, that's amazing. Like everybody in here is higher than that. And I was like, wait, I got my cell phone in my pocket. I got magnets in my pocket. So I'm like, let me take this out. And as I'm putting them on the table, the voltmeter goes to 22 volts. And he's like, that's weird. And I look at the table and there's 3 laptops sitting on a metal table. So I'm getting, and then I realized the entire week leading up to this conference, I had been in Buckeye. I was working on a quartz countertop with my laptop. So all week long, I had been jacking my EMFs up, working on a laptop, working on a quartz countertop. And was like, whoa. So then I got a fancy little case to like protect me from EMFs when I'm, now using my laptop on my lap or on a bad countertop or something.
I don't have any cords.
No, and you're so good about that stuff, right? So for me, that's where it was like, well, is it potentially like the diet? Is it potentially getting better fat going in her body? Is it getting stuff out?
Oops. Did he stop on you, Brandon?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Yeah. A good expression.
So, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's a little overwhelming.
That's a lot. Um, when he comes back, we'll try to get some clarity. That was my question, which I was going to interject at some point, but he just, he's got good ideas, and I like his perspective. Um, but one thing that Joe is not known for, and he'll tell this to you straight to your face, that he is um is brevity.
Uh,
So yeah, and like trying to keep things really um simple and actionable, because he does
yeah,
have a huge, vast knowledge base, that is not taught in any of our formal schooling. So it's been, taken pieces from everywhere, which
yeah.
can be a little disorienting at times.
Well, I
But
appreciate enthusiasm. It's just, it's a realm that I'm not in. So especially when I'm feeling like intellectually, if I was feeling great, this would be fascinating. But I'm just trying
yeah,
to barely scrape by these days.
right. So it's
And
it's almost impossible to follow
yeah,
everything,
yeah,
and you really just want some actionable advice,
yeah,
where to start.
yeah.
And so when he comes back, we'll ask him that. You know, I forget now. What was the pendulum's answer?
Micronutrients.
Micronutrients. Okay.
Also, the setup you have right now is making me like flip when I see myself.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah,
like mirrored.
yeah, and it's making me a little queasy.
Is it is it still flipped when it's just you?
Yep, it's still flipped. And it's got a time delay too.
Really?
So it's really hard to look at. Ah, that's so much better. Just looking at you. Just in general, that's so much better. But
Okay. Um,
yeah, I don't remember in the past the time delay, but when you played with it. But anyways, yeah, so it's I mean, yeah, that's where I'm at. It's like I've kind of at a loss for what to do, and it's a little it's overwhelming.
Yeah, that's totally understandable.
So many rabbit holes with so many people who are, this is the right way, this is the thing to do. And
Yeah, and I mean, to his credit, Joe did mention that when you talking about just gut health, like just to use that blanket term, man, I want to heal my gut or something is generally not enough because there's so many different places to um to work at. And, that's the unfortunate thing about the human body is that and nervous system is that it's just very complicated. So knowing exactly where the right place to start is um, can be very difficult. But the good thing is you don't have to know the right place because you can still make good positive change in many different places. So, you know, um, the advice from Matt the other day um, about what are they called? Like stomach migraines,
yeah, abdominal migraines. Yeah.
abdominal migraines,
Yeah.
along with the vestibular migraines and the overlaps there, vagus nerve work, that kind of stuff. And I brought up the symptom imperative and TMS and the emotional stuff just because I know you're going through a lot of emotional things right now.
Yeah.
And
I
it
mean,
would
I'm
make,
not that, yeah.
yeah, it would make sense to me that that plays a component, plays a part. Um, so what you do with that, is kind of up to you as far as, your process of dealing with the grief and all the emotions that aren't even related to grief that come up in the process, and whether you work with a counselor or therapist or a coach of some kind in that respect. And also, you have your neuro background when it comes to dealing with emotions and mindset issues and knowing how they work in the body and in the brain, um, in order to take both the bottom up approach when it comes to mindset and emotional work to um, complement the top down approach, which would be the acknowledging and not obsessing and reframing and all the good talk therapy things that you can do to process emotions, but also dealing with the bottom up side of it, which is all your nervous system regulation tools. So, you know, I don't have an exact place for you to start, really. Joe, welcome back. We were we were talking smack about you when you were gone. Not really. We were saying you've got just this vast well of knowledge and experience in so many different areas. It's awesome. It can be a little disorienting sometimes for those of us that aren't deep in those things. So I wanted to ask you, like, if you had some actionable next step for Sandra to take, what do you think that would be?
I would take the hydro that I just sent the link for you to, which was the micro daily. So then it's focused on the micronutrition side of it. And then I was going to send you a link for helping your adrenals, from the cortisol and stress side of just getting some adrenal support. And then I would probably, just there's the 5 digestive spices: ginger, fennel, cumin, cardamom, and coriander. So gluten-free is the ginger, fennel, and then the 3 C's: cardamom, coriander, and cumin. And for me, anytime you can get those spices into your diet, then you're starting to support your acid production. I can also send you the web link to where it suggests how to do a stomach acid test for someone. So you can just do that personal test on yourself a couple different ways and see how you're feeling and where you could start in those regards. Just because I always feel like if we're addressing the stomach and the front side of it, then we can start to get everything on the back side of it to work well too. From an Ayurvedic perspective, they're like, start with the bile and the stomach acid because they both go together.
Yeah.
But it seems like everything, whatever you're doing fat wise, seems to be like perfectly okay. So to me, it's more of the maybe more sodium bicarbonate, which probably not. It's probably more of the 5 spices that you should take. So that's kind of where I would just start playing with that side of the diet, and then think more seasonal as well. Like just get it where you're not eating the same thing all the time, and this is what would naturally be in season. And I would make that change. I mean, you're a canary in the coal mine with your circumstances. Like you're telling everybody else, like, we have to stop using all of these EMFs. All of this lighting we use is terrible. Like, stop using it. So it's not a quick fix, as you've already experienced in the 1,000 things you've tried, but you've learned so much along the way. I think that the micronutrition will just be a big ripple effect for you. And if you're breaking down more of the stuff in your stomach, getting along with those 5 digestive spices, maybe pulling some teas in, different herbal teas that would be supporting, the adaptogen side of your adrenals and the cortisol balance. And then just making sure you're standing in the wet water on the beach, looking at the sun when it comes up every morning and night.
Thanks. Yeah.
I heard you guys talking about grief when I came back on.
Oh,
So grief is, I'm gonna name drop again, Dr. Zach Bush, who tripped, fell, and stumbled and looked under a microscope and saw how to reverse glyphosate damage at a cellular level. Also then gets really big into the soil health and why bacteria is so good for us, and how we want to eat food with people and commune, and the connections that take place that the bacteria experience when we're eating meals together, as we're like, that's going into our bodies. He also had a mindset program where he talked about grief. And it was really fascinating the way that he talked about how grief is like the phoenix rising from the sun, right? It's like every time that we can experience grief, we can set our identity on a new place and a new person who we want to become through that grief. So the magic in the energy in the moments of experiencing grief is that when you're done feeling the grief, because you have to feel it, you got to process it, you got to know what's there. I'm not discounting or discrediting any of the stuff that people should feel, right? But once you're done, then you pull out your magic sword like She-Ra or He-Man and you say, I have the power. And then you think about who that new identity is, who that phoenix rising is. And then you just keep letting that energetic momentum shift you with each layer that you grieve. And I don't know what the grieving conversation was about, but that's what that's of grief.
That's cool. That's a cool perspective to have when it comes to grief. Yeah. Pull that sword. Okay.
So in the book, Busting Loose from the Money Game, he described like the grief moment, the awareness moment as like finding an Easter egg. And you like go ahead and you find it and it's cool. And it's like, oh, I've got this neat little thing. But yet yet he was also like, this isn't always fun when you uncover these Easter eggs. It's not a fun experience. And it just reminded me.
Right.
And when I was reading the book, it reminded me of watching He-Man growing up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a transformative experience for sure. I mean, you have to forge a new identity. It's kind of non-negotiable, especially if it's someone close to you. If it's, well, assuming it's a person that you're grieving, because you can grieve for a lot of things, including past identities for yourself, right? But yeah, moving forward without that means you are new. Phoenix rising. I like it.
So
Cool.
for me, although this doesn't feel like it was probably a fun conversation for you, Sandra, and maybe I said a whole lot of things that you're like overwhelmed with, and I apologize
Yeah.
for that. But the truth of the matter is, I really feel like you're in a super cool place without hearing any of the parts that I missed and whatever. Like for where you're at in this frustration, it's like you've plateaued. And like if you can just see yourself on the other side of that plateau and feel like you're taking the right steps with just like a little bit of confidence, like, okay, I'll try this supplement. Like the universe is cool. Like let the magic unfold.
I more feel like I've been like recognizing I've had these sensitivities for certain ones for decades, and I managed them all my life. And I thought like, oh, maybe it's one part of my brain, or let's do the glasses or something like that. And then all of a sudden I feel like I've come to a point where all these things are coming up all at the same time that I've been managing for decades. And so like my body can't do it anymore. That's what I'm feeling like. And so now I'm like, okay, so now I've usually been very strong and doing lots of different things and being very capable, physically and in my mind. And now I'm just barely holding on.
Can I put you on the spot? I have more than
Sure,
I already have.
sure. I have nothing. Yeah.
So think about the language that you just used, just in that short little share right there. Like how much of that stuff did you own as a part of you?
Oh, as opposed to it happening to me?
Opposed to like, I'm overcoming these things. I've spent all these years managing and figuring these different things out. And now I've come to a place where I can be complete and move forward. So you're feeling completely overwhelmed because all of these things are coming crashing down on you in one moment in time. And I can
Yeah.
understand that. Like I can totally get that. But I can also flip that and I can see so easily that all of these things are meeting in this one moment for you to just springboard so that you no longer are the canary in the coal mine. You are now the person who was the canary in the coal mine. You are now the person who is like, no, I know what all of that stuff is like, and you need to do these changes. And
I
how
guess I can't, what I could say is like all this stuff is being revealed at a deeper level. It was like that. I feel like I've been dealing with all these things coming at me and I've been handling them because that's what I do. But now they're being revealed, like there's something underlying it. And that's what is the mystery now. And I'm sitting in that.
I'll be real egotistical in this statement, but I don't feel like it's egotistical. Like I don't feel like this is coming from my ego at all, but if I was listening to this call and I was listening to myself, I'd be like, that dude's an egomaniac. Right. But like, I literally, like the micronutrients with that type of focus on EMF protection specifically, right? Like, I just feel like that can be a massive game changer for you.
All right, I'll look into that. Yeah.
And I thought it back in November when I originally sent you the link.
All right. I didn't talk about it enough. November was, yeah.
You didn't respond. I noticed you didn't respond. I was like, did I send that to her? And then when I was sending you the specific,
It could
yeah,
be. I mean, I was dealing with a lot of stuff that that wasn't about me that yeah.
yeah, I recall.
Yeah.
It's kind of the beauty of now too, is you're through all of that. So now you do really get to,
I'm actually
you
not
know,
quite. I got some other,
well,
I got my mom, and some things dealing with, yeah, I got a lot of things on that plate, but yeah.
but you're,
But that's leveled for you, isn't it? Like, you feel like confident in this place that you're in with your mom, besides your mom's unknowns?
No,
No.
no.
So is that an area where like you can ask for support?
Um, yeah, I'm not, there's just a lot of things I need to do to help her. That's all. And I don't have the energy and strength and health right now to be able to do a lot of it. That's where I'm at.
Well, hopefully that'll change quickly.
Yes. Yeah. 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 But thank you. I'll check out the micronutrients and
Yeah, cool.
yeah.
Cool.
And listen to the recording, because there's a lot of stuff that you put out there and it's just right.
And I really don't throw it out there for you to run down each of those rabbit holes.
Okay.
I'd rather you be like, hey, how do I play with this? And, you know, reconnect me after you were rewatching it, and something that hits you, be like, Joe, say more about this. Because yeah, while maybe going down the rabbit hole helps re-influence or encourage you to keep doing something, it can also just like keep you stuck from doing something. Because you're
Right.
like, I need to learn this, and I need to learn this, and I
Yep.
need to learn this.
That's what I'm afraid of. Yeah.
Yeah. So just take at least one action step, and then if there's more you have questions about, like, let's just talk again.
Okay.
Because
Thank
I've
you.
studied all of this stuff for a lot of hours.
Yeah. Yeah. And I haven't really studied much of it at all. I've always stayed away from like the metabolic stuff and supplements and that world has not been where I've put time. I feel it's almost as if I feel like it's such a huge dive that I can't, there's too many other things I'm already doing. I have to rely on other people's expertise in that realm.
yeah, I feel the same way. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I fell, stumbled into understanding it.
Yeah, it's great.
Which was cool.
Yeah. It's a good resource for us.
Speaking of, did your detox bath feel good?
It was like way too hot. It was like scalding. So I lasted for 25 minutes. But
Oh, that's real good.
yeah, I felt good afterward. The next day I went to yoga, and as soon as I started sweating, I could smell apple cider vinegar coming out of my pores. I did feel a lot better, especially after going to yoga the next day. I didn't sleep really well last night, especially, well, 2 nights ago, excuse me. So Sunday night, I did the bath Saturday night. I felt much better. Um, Sunday night, I didn't hardly slept at all. Both because I couldn't breathe, because my nose was everything was just so stuffy. And then starting around 2:30 or 3, there was one baby up, always needing a pacifier or something else. So I was up since then. So yesterday was a rough day. But my mother-in-law stayed over last night, and what did I do last night that helped? I don't remember. But anyway, I'm taping my mouth shut, and I have these like nose vents that you stick in your nose, and they just keep your nose open. Yeah, they're super attractive.
That comfortable for sleeping?
They're not really comfortable, no.
I wonder why you don't sleep well.
I mean, they're just silicone. They're just like round, stick them up there. It's not that bad. It's not great when you're super dry, which I have been the last few nights. And I finally shut the window last night, which was so silly that I had it open for the last like week. I like the fresh air, but it's so dry here that even the humidifier on blast doesn't do anything for my dry sinuses and throat. So I shut the window, put the humidifier on blast, and my mother-in-law was here staying with us last night, taking care of the babies, so I slept really well. And finally. I still have like crazy sinus congestion and runny nose. But otherwise I feel great.
Boom. Let's take care of that next. We haven't talked oil pulling, have we?
No.
So I prefer sesame oil because when I take a swig of it and it gets super runny and it's all like a lot of liquid in your mouth, then I know I'm done. Where like if I use coconut oil and I swish it, it's runny from the moment I put it in and I got to pay attention to the clock. Where I feel like with the sesame oil, it's the clock. I know when it's super ridiculously runny, you're done. But then you just, so some sesame oil, swish it in your mouth, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, and then spit it in the toilet and clean your mouth. And the amount of stuff that will come out of you following that will blow your mind. You'll be like, where was all of that? And then you'll feel good for the rest of the day. And then when you sleep, it'll probably come back. But if you wake up in the morning and you oil pull again, you'll feel great all day long again.
Cool. I started using a nebulizer this morning. I just got it from Amazon. So that's been nice. But the
nebulizer is more likely sometimes to increase the mucus flow because it's going to increase the detox.
cool.
Where
So do that with the oil pulling.
yeah, so like how the oil pulling is working and pulling the stuff right out of you, it like stops it from staying inside to keep getting the mucus going and going. So yeah, definitely both. And if you're feeling so much mucus still, then I would say back off the nebulizer. And then once you feel really clean, then pick the nebulizer up to pull more out.
Isn't sesame oil like kind of hot, spicy?
Maybe the roasted. I always get the regular sesame.
Yeah.
No,
roasted.
we usually have like a
Yeah, not the
spicy
kind for
version.
eating.
Not the kind for eating.
Not the kind for like, there's the kind that you just put a little dash on to flavor food, but there's just regular, gentle, nice sesame oil.
Okay.
Yeah, you're looking for the unrefined sesame oil at the grocery store.
Okay. You're just taking like a tablespoon and swishing it around for 20 minutes, or do you need more than that?
I mean, everyone's mouth size is a little different. So somewhere between a teaspoon and a tablespoon. And the more you put in, then the longer it will take. You know, you might be like, oh, I'm at 25 minutes and my mouth is really full right now and it's still thick. Well, you put in too much oil.
And would you just do that until, things kind of clear up and you feel better, or like your detox is over, or you just do it every day forever?
I did it 5 days a week for like 9 years, and now I do it randomly.
Okay. Cool.
Andrew's face when I said that was classic, wasn't it?
All right.
I have to go. I want to thank you both so much for taking the time to talk
Yep.
with and explore this thing. And I like the idea of I'm at a point where things are difficult, which leads to lots of discovery to create something new. That's how I'm holding it.
Yeah, just grab those words and empower yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
Forge ahead.
okay. All right. So may you both be well, and I'll see you soon.
Thanks, Sandra. Thanks for being
Okay.
here.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay.
I was like, it's 2 minutes before the hour. I don't have much else, do you?
Thanks everyone for being here for Joe's TED Talk.
This
This was a good one.
was fun.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff. A lot of good stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording.